good day to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Peace Clinic. We are glad to have you join us. So once again, my name is Jeanette Michael, and the Director of Media and Information, Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management, and I'll be co-anchoring today's episode with Ambassador Tahule Joshua, the Registrar for Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management. You're welcome, sir.
Chile, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our viewers. We are happy you could join us today once again. And we are going to discuss an interesting topic that all of us are conversant with. So you're all welcome. We appreciate your time. And thank you for joining us once again. Thank you, Janet. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Ambassador. We are glad to have you with us. So to our viewers, once again, we appreciate your presence. Do well to go down to the comment section and let us know your name, your location, where you're joining us from, and also we would love to have you in this conversation. The Peace Clinic is brought to you by the Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management, and today we'll be looking at a topic. We'll be discussing the cost of peace is cheaper than the cost of war, a critical analysis of the impact of Boko Haram activity in northeastern Nigeria. And so that is what we'll be treating today. So again, we would love to have you in this conversation. The Boko Haram is an extremist group operating in the northeast Nigeria, and it has had significantly affected the region's socio-economic and political stability. So today we'll analyze and explore the impact of Boko Haram's activities, emphasizing the submission that the cost of peace is way cheaper than the cost of war. So Ambassador, you're welcome, sir. Before we go into our presentation slide, we would love for you to give us a background on the Boko Haram as a body, and how far they have gone in their impact in issues concerning peace.
All right, Janet, thank you very much. Boko Haram is not a secret thing. Everyone knows Boko Haram and their oppressions. We know all of us experienced the impact of Boko Haram in this country, the fears, the panic that was caused as a result of the activities of that group. It's one of the unfortunate experience that we have in this country, or we had in this country. Boko Haram came as a result of some careless attitude of certain people. Otherwise, if you look at it very well, it's an ideology that could have been discouraged, right? From its inception. It could have been discouraged, but they overlook it. Those that were in a position to discourage it overlook it. And then as time goes on, it consumes lives, consumes properties, and today we are discussing it as one of the negative impacts or experience that we can count when we are discussing our negative experiences in this country. So Boko Haram had its own devastating impacts on the nation, on the lives of the people, on every structure of our society. And this is what we want to take a look and try to compare to the effort we can do to make peace possible, instead of allowing war or conflict to strike before we can take actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua. So for today, we'll be looking at the Boko Haram activities. We'll first be looking at the origin. We'll look at the ideology, the activities, the expansion, and also we'll be focusing majorly on the impact on education, the impact on health, on infrastructure, and also on human life. So once again, to our viewers, we would love to have you in this conversation. So do well to reach out to us in the comment section with your contributions and also with your questions, and we will gladly attend to them. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the origin. The Boko Haram was founded in the year 2002 by Muhammad Yusuf in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State in the northeastern Nigeria. The group initially operated as a non-violent Islamic movement advocating for a strict interpretation of Sharia law. Over time, it became increasingly radicalized and turned to violence to achieve its goal. So, Ambassador Joshua, a lot of people do not know the origin of Boko Haram and how the group actually started. To some, it was, I remember when I heard about the Boko Haram activity, it was when it was already, full-fledged, when it has, the activities of violence was all over the place. And for most people, they do not, know or, got to know that it actually started as a non-violent Islamic movement. So we would just love you to, share a little light on this, the origins of Boko Haram, so people can understand what it was at its conception.
All right, thank you very much, Janet. I from the research that we have gone through, it has been said that the group was founded in 2002, and surprisingly, it will interest you to know that by 2005, I got admission to school in the University of Maiduguri. So I was in Maiduguri. I was from 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. Okay, it was around 2008, towards the end of 2008, that we started hearing something about Boko Haram. All the while I was in Meduguri, I never knew about Boko Haram. I don't know about the activities, and but maybe probably because the name they were using, it was an Islamic name, so it wasn't so popular like that. And then maybe the activities were also not pronounced since it was basically in Borno at that time. And then, but when the negative activities of the group began to play out, they decided to make the name to be so simple and popular for everyone to know which group they are talking about here. Because if you say you pronounce the Islamic name, it's very difficult to pronounce. So the easiest way to pronounce is the Boko Haram, uh, which is against Western education. A very simple interpretation. Boko Haram. Do you understand? Very simple interpretation to say that okay, we're against Western education. That is just as simple as that. So it was very easy for people to understand that this is what the whole group is all about, and that's what. Yeah, but in those days when we were there, like 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, that I was schooling University of Maiduguri, I never knew anything like Boko Haram. I never knew anything. In fact, I have not heard of the group per se. Maybe basically because I was in school, I was studying, my attention was on the school, so I didn't know what was happening much in my environment, maybe, probably. But the activities were not pronounced as at that time. We only got to know more about them when the negative aspect of the group began to play out. But when it was positive, naturally, negative news flies faster and their way voice out more than when it's good. Do you understand? So if it's something negative, you see people, respond to it quickly than something that is good. Do you understand? So maybe the good nature of them at the beginning was not pronounced compared to the negative aspect that we started seeing around 2009. So, and then it spread out and then it became something that no one, in fact, as of 2009, I still went back to Meduguri. In fact, when I was in Meduguri, the activities at that time also was not even targeting the people. They were not targeting the people per se. The only thing they were targeting was government properties. Do you understand? At that time, when they started at the initial stage, when their leader was still much alive. So what they were doing basically was to destroy government property. I can tell you that I feel the impacts of it on ground when I was in Meduguri. All right. So I saw I saw one of the properties of government. They procure all these tricycles to empower people, and they went and destroyed that place. Do you understand? And so that's what they were doing then. But they were not attacking people per se until their leader was killed, and then the conflict escalated. So that is much I can say for now about the group.
Interesting. Thank you, Ambassador. Now we have seen, okay, that before, or when Boko Haram was founded, it was actually a non-violent Islamic movement, and later on, as the years rolled by, it became radically violent. Now, it is normal, or it is ideal for us to believe that there could actually be a trigger. So what could have triggered this non-violent group? That people were not even aware of its existence. It was just, doing its thing, focused on its goal and objective. And then all of a sudden, violence escalated, and then the killings here and there, and it became a national crisis. So what do you think would have actually triggered? Because to me personally, I don't seem to understand that the fact that it started as a non-violent movement, and then the violence became heightened. It was like the most violent terrorist group in the country, even moving out of the country to other regions. So what could you have said would have triggered this radicalized violence?
All right, Janet, thank you very much. Like I said, this is an ideology that would have been discouraged even from the onset. Do you understand? Because we have had Western education and has been here with us, and even the leader himself benefited from Western education. Do you understand? He is a graduate. Do you understand? So forming this kind of idea could have been discouraged, but the people who were in a position to discourage this were rather romancing with the group. Do you understand? I can tell you that the government at that time was looking for a re-election, and they also used this group, all right, to get to win election. And then at the same time, they they promised them some things. Do you understand? They promised them some things that they will also support their group to advance their activities. The group was targeting to stop Western education and also to establish an Islamic state. Do you understand? That is completely Islamic state. Okay, so that these were two basic ideas they were projecting, and the government also at that time promised to support their activities. They were romancing with them, yes, we'll support your activities. Okay, let's just win the second term and let's see how we can go. And so they were promising them all manner of support. Do you understand? And then when they finally won the election and entered the office, they now begin to play with them. We're not ready for this, and then all of this, and then begin to deny them all those promises they promised to support them. I get a point now. And then they were not seeing any effort the government was making to advance their activities. So as a result of that, they got angry, and because of the disagreement between them and the people that were promising them. Now, and since they were the people that were in government, the only place they could express their anger was to attack the government properties. But that's where the question is, and that's where the challenge is. If the group is a non-violent organization, if a group is for peace, just to establish, to just refute the Western education, also to say we need an Islamic state, then where were the guns coming from? Where were the weapons coming from? Why the violent aspect of it? Do you understand? That's where it's quite confusing. It's as if they were having a plan B, that this thing that we want to advance, we cannot advance it in a peaceful way. We need to advance it violently also. Do you understand? But they started as in a group that was so peaceful. And so maybe they were using that to just bite the people, buy people into their group, maybe bring them in, come and join us. We are a peaceful organization, but maybe when they are able to convince people and then maybe induct them in their group, or maybe bring their ideologies and maybe make them to be convinced beyond reasonable doubt that okay, we are for peace, and then later introduce other things, and exactly, and that's what happened, because the group actually, so the group members now, all of them switch over completely. I would have expected that some of them would say, me, I thought this thing was for peace, so but if it's turning to violence, I will not participate. But all the people, the group members, participated in the violence. Do you understand? So it's as if they were having a plan B, and then they were just using the peace and the humanitarian aspect of it just to bring in, recruit more people into their group, make people to have this kind of empathy and concern over their group, and that is what exactly they were able to achieve. So people were sympathizing with them, people were identifying with them, and that's what led to all the explosion. But the explosion became so intense when the leader was killed. Do you understand? When the leader was killed, there was explosion and the escalation of the violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Joshua. So moving on, you actually spoke about ideology, the ideology of the Boko Haram group. So we're moving on to look at this ideology. Now, the Boko Haram's ideology is based on the fundamentalist interpretation of Islam that rejects Western education and values. The group's name, which translates to Western education, is forbidden in the Hausa language, reflects its opposition to secular education and influence. Boko Haram seeks to establish an Islamic state governed by Sharia law in Nigeria. So earlier, when we're looking at the origin, we got to know that the group was founded by a Muhammad Yusuf, and you made mention that this particular person was a graduate. So he actually went through the Western education process. So I'm trying to create a balance to see that, okay, this person that founded this group, which is interpreted as Western education is forbidden, he actually went through the Western education process. And it's actually said that this is an Islamic group, and it's actually a fundamentalist interpretation of Islam that rejects Western education and values. And somebody might be asking, does Islam actually reject Western education? So how do we get to create a balance between this?
All right, thank you. That's why we are calling them the fundamentalists, because their ideologies are quite different. Do you understand? There are people that will call them the extreme. That is this, they interpret in a rigid sense of it, that is the rigid aspect of interpretation of Islam. So, but Islam is not totally against Western education. Do you understand? But there are some elements of concern that Western education may have some kind of corrupt practice. So they believe that they should just go for Islamia and things like Islamic education and things like that. But that, generally you can agree with me that when we were in Jigawa, we were celebrating the International Day of Peace, I think something of that nature. And then we mobilized some children. We wanted to give them some gifts. And it was during the school hours, and they were on the street. So we wanted to talk to them. And then also ask them why they were not in school at that time. And then, so we have something I wanted to give them. And while we're discussing this issue, some of them says that their Islamic teachers informed them not to go to Western school because it will corrupt them. That's what they said. And to prove their point, some of them even refused to. When we try to discourage to say that Western education is not bad, they can actually combine both Western education and Islamic education together, and then they will stand in a better position to interact freely with everybody. Some of them did not buy that idea, and then they say vehemently that Islamic teachers say no, Western education is very bad. It will corrupt their mind. So, and some of them refuse to even collect the gift we have for them. They refuse to partake in it. Do you understand? Because for them, we're discussing something that was against their teachings and what they believe in. Do you understand? So that was the challenge. And so this, I don't know the level of exposure of the teachers of the Islamic that used to teach them. Do you understand? Maybe they have grown up, experienced the Islamic teachings, and that's what they knew. And so any other thing for them is not, necessary. Do you understand? So for them, you get Islamic education, you get Islamic knowledge, and then you are a complete person. Nothing corrupts you. You have no other ideas anywhere. So it is better to live like that. But why we may have people that may believe like, okay, it should be so. There may others that may have different view, and that's why I think that their ideas was not totally accepted. If it is something that is generally acceptable by all Muslim faithful, then I feel that every Muslim person would have supported them and rise up and say that, okay, this is what is good for us, right? But even the people, the leaders that they rejected them, they are also Muslim people. So you can see that it's just a kind of an extremist aspect of interpretation of the religion or Islam. But maybe some people hold that belief. Do you understand? They hold that particular belief and they are working towards it. You know, people believe things differently. Do you understand? There are people that believe things and operate to the extreme, and while there are others that operate moderately. Do you understand? So, and that is how it is. So maybe they were just on the extreme side, and then the majority of other Muslim faithful are on the moderate side. Do you understand? And so they believe that it's better to combine, and that's why some of them, you know, most parents do in the north is that, yes, their children go for secular education. When they come back, they have what we call the Islamia, which they go in the evening. Do you understand? And I think that's the best way to do. Do you understand? Yes, you are giving them both the Islamic education and then the Western education. So let them combine the two. It's better we should test all of them and know which one is good and which one is bad. And then when you have the idea and have the understanding, then you can be able to avoid the bad aspect of a particular thing and go for the good aspect of it. Do you understand? So that's what it means. So as for me, the parents that are encouraging their children to go to Western education at the same time attend the Islamia are doing their children more good than those that say focus on Islamic education alone. Do you understand? Maybe yes, they can be able to operate generally in their own cycle and then move on, but they may have limitations when they come to interact with people outside that cycle. So these are the challenges. But I think that group was just operating under the fundamentalist mentality. Thank you.
I totally agree with you, Ambassador Joshua. And it's actually quite unfortunate that a number of people bought into this ideology and they were used as instruments to cause violence and destruction. So as we proceed, we'll be taking the comments from our comment section. Let's see what our viewers are saying. So we have this comment from Mr. Oyekan, and he says, I disagree that Boko Haram began as a non-violent group. The politicians, because of their selfish interest, organized Boko Haram to help them to win elections, but later they overpowered the politicians that set up the group. The people that organized it are still working in streets without the government bringing them to book. Ambassador Shah, it's actually, most people have this ideology of the Boko Haram. Even myself at some point, it felt like, oh, it was actually used as a group to, win the election that was coming up at that point. So would love you to react to this and let us know what you think about this debate.
All right, Janet. Like I said, it's only the people that form the organization that can actually say the exact, mission of that organization at that time. So since I'm just also speculating what could have been the reason for the formation of the institution. And now, because it turned out to be very, very bad, then we can categorically say that even from the onset, it wasn't intended to be a good institution. Do you understand? But maybe that may not be a total objective of the group. The group may mean something more than just, when you have an idea and you want to project the idea and it's not going as you expected, there are bound to be a frustration. Maybe that's where they were at that time. Maybe actually they intended for them, and according to their belief, maybe they thought they are pursuing something that is good. Do you understand? And if I can pursue and have an Islamic state that is completely an Islamic state like Afghanistan, like Pakistan, do you understand? And then another Islamic state, then I think I have done something good. Do you understand? You know, and what's happening is that you have the likes of the Taliban in Afghanistan, even now in government controlling the government of Afghan. So that's where the problem is. Now, the issue is that maybe they had this mindset of, okay, we are going to build an Islamic state that will be so peaceful that it will just be Islamic state and nothing else but Islamic. Do you understand? And you know, that's why even in Afghanistan, if you notice very well, the issue of gay child education is not tolerated at all. Their gays are completely at home. Do you understand? So maybe that was the kind of ideology they wanted to implicate or replicate in Nigeria here. But maybe they started as a peaceful, that's why I say maybe they had a plan B. They started as a peaceful institution just to mobilize people to bring in, and then they will indoctrinate them into their group, make them to believe what they are doing, get used to it, support them, and then you know it's like you are it's like you are enshrined into the group. Do you understand? So now you cannot go out. Now you are already in, you have benefited from them, and so it's possible you can sympathize and you can also vouch for the group. And I think that's what happened. And then when the negative aspect of it began to come out, it was very fast and clear. Do you understand? So it's like they had a plan B. Oh, it's all along they have this kind of plan, but they were just hiding the reality of their plan just to move on. And if we can go smoothly, fine. If we have any challenge, we will protest or we can counter that challenge. And when the challenge came, they actually show strength. Do you understand? It means that all those years they were preparing for that time to come. So it's possible for one to walk up and say that even from the onset, it wasn't intended to be a peaceful institution. It was just they were just it was just a wolf in a sheep cloth. Do you understand? So maybe that is just the whole stuff. But for me, since I'm not the leader of the group, I can say maybe it's possible they had a different intention, or maybe the mindset was not that this thing should turn out the way it turned out. But the truth of the matter is that the politicians also contributed to influencing this group. That's what I say. Because there were people in a position that could have said to these people that this idea will not work in our society, it will not work. So just forget about it. And then channel your effort into something else. But they encouraged it and then supported it at some point. It's just that when they knew that this idea was not going to work, they began to turn their back and then started having issues with them. And that's where the problem, resulted into full-fledged conflicts.
Thank you, Ambassador Joshua, for that. And thank you, Mr. Onyekan, for that contribution. Once again, to our viewers, we would love to know your thoughts about this topic. We are talking about the cost of peace is actually far cheaper than the cost of law. Critical analysis of the impact of the Boko Haram activities in the northeast of Nigeria. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the activities of the Boko Haram group. The Boko Haram is known for its brutal tactics, including suicide bombings, kidnappings, assassinations, and attacks on civilian population, security forces, and government institutions. The group has targeted churches, mosques, schools, markets, and other public places. The Boko Haram has also been responsible for the adoption of hundreds of schoolgirls, such as the infamous Chibok schoolgirls kidnapping in 2014. Ambassador, is actually quite unfortunate, when we, go through memory lane to look at the activities of the Boko Haram group. And then you made mention that this group actually started, that's during your stay in Meduguri, the location at which this group began, that they were only targeting government properties. But later on, we could see the escalation, the suicide bombings, the kidnapping. It was more like the attention had moved, from the government institutions to civilians. And you could see that most of their targets was towards civilians. So how do we, create that balance? What would have led them to, leave their initial attacking of the government institution if their anger was actually towards the government. Why not just focus on that? But then we could see that, it escalated down to the civilians, and people, quite a large number of people, lost their lives. So how do we create a balance to that?
Well, Janet, thank you. If you go, when you want to define government, according to Abraham Lincoln, our democracy generally says a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So people accepted and institutionalized the government. Do you understand? It's the people that institutionalize the government. The government that is in place, the people that keep them there. So the people themselves are all the government. The electorate are also part of the government because they accepted the government that is in place. Do you understand? So they are also an enemy. And the only way that a group can hurt the government is when it hurts the populace. Do you understand? That's when the attention will be given to their group. Or that's when people will know that they are doing something. And the only way they could, vent their anger is going to be on the people, because definitely the politicians that were supporting them are highly protected. Okay, so you may not get to them. That's just it. So the only way you can, the only pain you can inflict on any government is when you kill the citizens of that government. Do you understand? So, or the indigents. So that's what happened. So the populace were just the sub target, and then they used the opportunity they had where before, and even you can see that it's not only just the civilians, even the military. Nobody was exempted. The churches were not exempted. The mosques, which is an Islamic institution, no worship, they was not exempted. So you can see that they came with a very radical approach. In fact, it's as if the one the Taliban have is even a kind of a simple ideology. Their own was more brutal. Do you understand? But that's the kind of operation the Taliban also carried out. Do you understand? So, and maybe they wanted to use that as well. But just that they were overpowered. But you can see the capacity at which they were able to demonstrate the fact that we were prepared for a day like this to come. It's for them to drag the government, the Nigerian military, and the Nigerian Air Force and the Navy and all the paramilitaries to a point whereby we'll be looking so devastated and even calling for international support. Then it tells you that those guys were really prepared for what was coming. Do you understand? Because they knew that it was going to come, and connections, and also prepare for a time like this to come. So, and so they were not, it was not just if government was just in initial stage of attack, government institution was just an initial aspect of it. But when it was escalated, then nobody was exempted. Nobody. Everybody was a target. Every institution was a target. Be it even Islamic institution, because they believe that even the mosques, the people that are in the mosques, does not accept the ideology. So they are also contributing to the part of the problem. Assuming they accepted the ideology at once, then it shouldn't be a challenge. Nobody would have come to reject the ideology. Do you understand? But it means that even the some group of Islam also don't accept and partake in the ideology. So the next thing is, let's also kill everything. Whatever that is come to our side, clear it. Whether you are a fellow Muslim, we don't care. Whether you are a Christian, we don't care. Whether you are a gay child, we don't care. Whether you are a boy child, we don't care. All is a target. Do you understand? Whether you are a government official, it's none of our business. We are on a journey, and we must clear whatever that is in front of us. And so that's what they were doing. So it was more very, very radical. Do you understand? So the initial attack on government institution was just the initial stage of it. But in conflicts, when the conflict escalates, it's like a wildfire. Do you understand? When the bush, a small fire can consume a forest. That's what happened. So it was just an initial stage of it. And then as they progress, they began to escalate and also reach other sectors of the economy, and every other person was not exempted.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, looking at of this violent activity was actually the kidnapping of the Chibok schoolgirls, which happened in the year 2014. And that was actually a big blow to the nation and even to the world, and we could see, people campaigning. There was protests, or release our girls and the likes of them. Now, it's actually quite unfortunate that this Boko Haram group could go that far. And okay, we understand the fact that, oh, they were angry, they were agitated, and the conflict escalated. But what point were they trying to prove when it got to the kidnapping of over 200 schoolgirls? These were, young children, youth in school, and then all of a sudden, we honestly did not see it coming, and it just happened. And it was like everybody was clueless as to what had happened, and what is to be done. So somebody might be curious to ask that, okay, what point were they trying to prove, attacking schoolgirls in their cause for achieving their goal? Or
All right, Janet, thank you. The group was generally against the empowerment of the gay child. Do you understand? Like I told you, if you go to Afghanistan, all the gay, you cannot go to school. Just sit at home. All gays, all women, just stay at home. You are not to go to school. It's only the male that should go to school. That's the patriarchal kind of belief system. Do you understand? And that's what they were doing. So they were just so intentional. Do you understand? They were intentional about the kidnapping because it was one of the messages they need to preach, that as a gay child, you are not to go to school. You are to remain in your husband's house and things like that. Do you understand? You are not to go to school. So school is one way of empowering you. So you cannot go, and because you are educated, maybe you can begin to show arrogance, you can begin to show disrespect to your husband, or you begin to, maybe you are earning money yourself and then you begin to challenge your husband on all those kind of beliefs and all of that. So it's not a deal for them to go to school. So they were out also to say that apart from the fact that we don't like Western education, gay child education also shouldn't be even contemplated. So that was the reason why they were attacking gay schools, gay schools that were basically female schools. Do you understand? It was not only in Chibok that they attacked, even in Damatru, where Leah was kidnapped or adopted. Until today, we have not seen Leah up to in our eyes. Now people have been called return on Leah and all of that, to a point that you see Omokori is always writing something about Leah, but nowhere. Do you understand? The last time we heard stories, maybe she has, given to marriage, had children, and so many other stories. Do you understand? So these are the things. So they were practically against gay child education. That was another message, the dimension of the message that Western education is forbidding. In fact, one of the goals of that agenda is that gay child education should also be prohibited completely.
that's actually quite unfortunate. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the expansion of the Boko Haram group. The Boko Haram's influence has extended beyond Nigeria's border, with the group carrying out attacks in neighboring countries like Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. In 2015, Boko Haram pledged allegiance to the Islamic State of Iran and Syria, becoming known as the Islamic State's West African province. This affiliation has further intentionalized the conflict. So at this point, we are seeing that Boko Haram is no longer a Nigerian thing. It's not a Nigerian terrorist group, but they have been expanded, and they are actually posing a challenge to West Africa as a whole. So the question is, what is the government doing? Because for a group that started just in Borno State, a state in Nigeria, then it became a Nigerian terrorist group, and now it is expanding beyond the borders of Nigeria, moving on to West Africa. There's actually likelihood that it could become a world terrorist group. So what are the things in place to make sure that this doesn't happen? Although at this period, we are no longer hearing, stories of their activity, but most times this terrorist group operates, it's more like, oh, they are going to be enforced, and before we know what is happening, they are back in their full strength and whatever. Although we are not praying for that, but what is the government doing? What are international bodies doing to make sure that this ideology does not, escalate and then becomes a world problem?
Well, Janet, Boko Haram has been known as one of the international terrorist group. So it has been, designated as a terrorist group, a global threat. It's a global threat to security. Do you understand? Considering the affiliation with other groups, make it so complicated. And I believe that is why they could get that support they were getting to, exert their influence at that time. But the Nigerian government and other international community have, contributed to reduce the impact of Boko Haram activities. I was discussing with one of the, I think one of the Navy Air Force, or a member of the institute, who came from Borno. He came to our office and we were discussing, and he told me a lot of activities that the Nigerian military, the Nigerian Armed Forces generally have put in place. The military are doing their part, the Navy, they are doing their part, the Air Force, they are doing their part to make sure that and there is complete restoration of normalcy in that region. And I can tell you, he attests to the fact that people are going back to farm, people are going back with their normal lives, and things are normalizing in that place, and development is taking place. In fact, he also went ahead to tell me the kind of, even their own institution, the kind of development like constructing of hospitals, completing of borehole and water and supply of water and other activities that they were doing as an institution. That is an arm of the government. That is the Navy. Do you understand? That they're also doing to support the people to, return back to their normal lives. So he attested to the fact that they are doing. People are returning home. People are returning home, and normalcy is also being restored in that place. So that's to tell you that the activities of Boko Haram has been reduced, and some of them have scattered all over and became bandits, and then they're operating as bandits. Some of them operating that's why we're having a hit at in the north central. Do you understand? Some of them have run from that region and now they're causing confusion in the north central. And but I can tell you that government has been up and doing. We have seen several amount of money that has been put in the military sector to see that the security sector to see that the issue of Boko Haram and other security challenges are being addressed. So government has been up and doing, and they have been having collaboration with other government to make sure that these activities of this group is reduced. And at some point, I think they had a joint task force with other countries like Chad and Cameroon that were able to, so that while Nigeria was attacking here, Cameroon was attacking there, and then Chad was attacking there, and then Nigeria was also attacking. So they were able to, neutralize the activities of Boko Haram to a large extent, and that's where we are now. And so the ones that are just doing now, they are just going on minor operation, just small, where they will not be noticed. But if you are noticed somewhere, I think government is well prepared to handle you. So kudos to the government. They tried their best, because what came unprepared, and it was as if, when an enemy is preparing for you, they prepare ahead more than what you think you have. Do you understand? And so they actually challenged our non-military, that we know that the Nigerian military is one of the strongest institutions we have, but they were able to challenge them to a point. But government is always government, and they were able to overcome them to a large extent. And today we have peace returning to that region.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Then moving forward, we'll be looking at the impact of these activities as we relate to our society. The Boko Haram activities have had a devastating impact on the affected regions. Over 38,000 people have been killed and 2 million people have been displaced from their homes. The conflict has caused a humanitarian crisis with widespread food insecurity, malnutrition, and lack of access to health care affecting the population. The group's action has also hindered economic development in the region, leading to poverty and instability. As we progress, we'll be looking at how this impacted the healthcare system, the infrastructural systems, and also human lives. But the issues of the internally displaced persons, and we're meant to understand that about 2 million people have been displaced from their homes. People no longer have where they call home because their ancestral homes have been destroyed. And it's actually quite unfortunate that we still have these people, internally displaced person in IDP camps. And it seemed like everybody had moved on, but those people, the trauma they have gone through, the level of violence they have seen, some, just survived based on, the mercies of God. So, but what is the government doing concerning these people that have been displaced from their home? And, in what ways have we reached out to them to make them forget this trauma and then to move on with their lives?
Janet, thank you very much. You can see, like we have said, I mean, the impacts of Boko Haram activities on the people, on the economy, and the government has been overwhelming. It's quite devastating. You can see over 38,000 people being killed. That's not a small number. You understand? This is the ones that we can count. What about those ones that were not accounted for? Do you understand? The ones that were not aware. What about the members of the group that were killed as well? Do you understand? So a lot of deaths happened. People died, including the group members as well. They also died. Do you understand? So it was a devastating experience, very devastating experience. There are 2 million people displaced. That is a huge number. So when you look at all of these things, there's no amount of money that government will put in place that can be enough at this stage, because people are not fending for themselves. Somebody has to take care of them. So there's no amount of money that will be enough for someone that was living on his own, doing well, earning with his own hand, producing food that he consumed by himself. Now he's being taken care of. They're giving him a ration of food. How will that person survive? How will that person be comfortable with that person? Government, what kind of money, how much budget that government can put in place to make sure that these people live a comfortable life in camps, And I can tell you, I read through International Human Rights Commission, I think Human Rights Organization, and how they were also carrying out a research, and they find out that the government of Borno State and other international organizations that were giving support to the people that were displaced, camps have been closed. Some of the camps have been closed, and people were just, some of them, they without any form of support, they just allow them to go. Do you understand? They are going like that, no form of support. They don't even know where they are going. Houses being destroyed, nothing to lean onto. Some of them were giving $87, $87.5. Do you understand? That's the equivalent of how much? 100 and something thousand. So what could 100,000 something thousand do to somebody that has been in camp for several years, and now you are going home with 100 and something thousand? Where will you start from? Do you understand? So these people have been plunged into abject poverty. Do you understand? And severe suffering. That's what they are going to go through now. Do you understand? Because some of them, the camps have just closed because the international organization that was giving support, the World Food Program that was being supplied, has been stopped. Do you understand? So all those things are affecting them now. Government has no choice but to close those camps. And where are the people going? What kind of support they have available? Some of them are leaving that camp without any form of skills. Some of them aged people. Do you understand? So the impact is so devastating. And I can tell you for sure that government is overwhelmed. Do you understand? Despite the fact that government created Northeast Commission, Development Commission, it's not going to be as easy as people think. Most especially in our country where we have challenge of applying resources where they are due to be applied. Do you understand? So it's going to be quite challenging. At the Institute of Humanitarian, the Ministry of Humanitarian and Social Development, the story that has been going on in that ministry over the years. Do you understand? Money that is meant for the people, is being, diverted, and, I think recently the minister was sacked from there. Do you understand? So all of those things are there. So if, assuming we are in an environment where money goes for what is being budgeted for, then it's possible that they could have received, a deal so-called that can help them solve their own problem. But in a situation whereby we're operating environment whereby money is being always, diverted, it means that their challenge is compounded. Do you understand? And I can tell you for sure that based on some of the research I conducted, people are suffering. And the International Human Rights Group also have, said some of the suffering people are going through. Government just close camp, no any form of support, you just go your own way. Where are they going? Do you understand? If they say they are going back to go and farm, how long will it take for the farm to produce for something to eat? Do you understand? So it's going to take a while. And that period, who sustain them? Do you understand? So nothing. So people are suffering. And that's the situation, and that's the reality of many of the majority of the people that were affected by the conflict are going through.
It's actually quite unfortunate to see the impact of these activities, and that is actually to prove the submission that we are saying that the cost of peace is actually cheaper than the cost of war. A lot of people are yet to recover from that unfortunate incident. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the impact of the Boko Haram activities on education. Education was a casualty of the war in Nigeria's conflict-ridden northern region. Since 2029, the Boko Haram, a jihadist group, waged a relentless campaign against schools, teachers, and students determined to eradicate Western education. The impact of Boko Haram on education were devastating. There was a ferocious effort to suppress female empowerment and reinforce their patriarchal worldview by targeting girls' schools. The adoption of the 276 schoolgirls from Chibok in 2014, an act that shocked the world, became a snare symbol of Boko Haram's ruthless disregard for girls' education. So, Ambassador Joshua, what can you say about this impact on the activities on education?
And Chene, thank you very much. As the name All right, Janet. So as I was saying, the impacts of Boko Haram activities on education cannot be overemphasized because, in the first place, the name of the group is Western education is forbidden. That's what it means. That's a literal translation of what they were talking about. So you expect that everyone should expect that education should have received the majority of the impacts, the negative impacts of the activity of the group. So, and that's what we have seen. We saw where girls were kidnapped in several places. Some of them died in the process. And then apart from that, about 2,000 plus teachers died in the course of the war. And then about 19,000 teachers being displaced as a result of the activities of Boko Haram. About 900 and something school institutions were destroyed. That's to tell you that these people were just acting what they were, ready for it. Do you understand? They were ready for, Western education, and they show that yes, we committed to what we're saying, and by destroying school institutions and or anything infrastructure that has to do with school was a target and destroyed and was destroyed. So it's possible. It's practical to see that the impact of Boko Haram activities on education was so heavy and devastating. So I'm not surprised that it was, because in the first place that's what they were out to do, forbids Western education. So any school that was teaching Western education was enough to be a target and for destruction. Do you understand? So I'm not surprised. And then maybe all the staff and students are working in those institutions were also a target, because they were the ones that make the schools function. So if don't have children going to school, the school will not operate. If we don't have teachers teaching in those schools will not operate. So they became targets, do you understand? And so that's what they did. So they were just acting their name. And so I'm not surprised that education received the highest share of the attacks.
Thank you, Ambassador. Moving forward, we'll also look at the level of devastation that was caused to the educational sector. The United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, the UNICEF, released a press which confirmed that about 2,295 were teachers killed in the attacks between 2009 and 2022. More than 19,000 teachers displaced, more than 1,500 schools closed for safety reasons, and 910 schools were destroyed. The United Nations also reports that the Boko Haram affiliated groups, the splinter factions, including the Islamic State of West Africa province, had adopted at least 211 children and recruited 63 children between January and December of 2023. This impact of Boko Haram's attack on education has been profound and far-reaching. It has robbed children of their fundamental rights to learn, disrupted communities, and further stunted the development of an entire generation. The psychological trauma of witnessing violence and fearing for their lives have left many children with lasting emotional scars. And this is actually, so unfortunate, because education, as a people, education is one of the important sectors that we need to pay attention to. And we can see the activities of this Boko Haram group coming, to cause devastation in that area, especially in Chibok. I know that from that activity that had happened, a lot of people would not be willing to, send their children to school. The trauma, the psychological trauma, and the effects of that can be so overwhelming. But I believe that the government is doing a lot that it can to actually make sure that when it comes to education in that region, investment is made, and the children, especially the girls' child, are also being encouraged to go to school. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the impact of the Boko Haram on health. Even before the insurgency, the northeastern Nigeria had some of the worst health and socio-economic indices in the country. This is against the backdrop of a weak health system marked by inadequate health facilities and the threat of skilled health workers. So it is actually a common belief that when it actually comes to the northeastern part of the nation, when it comes to issues concerning health, we actually had a weak health system. The health sector was not really paid attention to, and then the effect of this Boko Haram insurgency, made the situation worse. About 788 health facilities in the regions were destroyed, and also 48 health workers were killed and 250 injured. No, this is just a number, and a lot of people would actually argue that the level of devastation is actually far worse than this, and the number being stated is actually far worse. The state has also lost up to 80% of its facilities, and only a third of those left in Borno State remain functional. It's actually unfortunate because at that particular point, the health sector actually needed help, needed attention, and then we could see the activity of this Boko Haram insurgents coming actually to escalate things in that region. We can see also the health rates, the health workers, the rates of the health workers, the role is also played during the period. A lot of doctors were actually lost in the sense that most health workers, due to security reasons, had to relocate from that particular region. So it is actually it is actually not a pleasant thing to see that this level of devastation, levels of killing, of death, that occurred in that region, and there was no health facility. Even the health facility that could actually help to save lives and to save people was also a target. So, Ambassador Joshua, over to you. What can you add to this as the Boko Haram insurgents' effect or impact on the healthcare sector?
Yeah, thank you, Janet. You know, they were out to make sure that the impact is so devastating. So they were targeting key infrastructures to make sure that the impact is overwhelming. Do you understand? To a point that if we escape the bullet, if we escape the bomb, you escape the kidnapping, then hunger will kill you, sickness will kill you because substance facilities were destroyed. Do you understand? So if you escape the bullet, hunger is waiting for you. If we escape the hunger, disease is waiting for you. Do you understand? So sickness, and because you can agree with that, some of them were aged people, some of them young children. Do you understand? And so what do you expect? So the situation was complicated. The health facilities, the little ones that were available, and the ones that the international organization, the services they were providing, that the support services they were providing, were overstretched. Do you understand? They were overstretched, and and that's why some of the deaths that we recorded, not because they died of what bomb blast, no, not that they died of a bullet, no. Some of them died as a result of malnutrition. You understand? Cholera and so many other diseases that are related to health issues. Do you understand? Some of them could not access those interventions. Some of them could not access medicine and treatment that they need to stay alive. Do you understand? So somebody that is hungry, somebody that is sick, somebody that is hopeless, you know, and one thing that can kill a man quickly is hopelessness. Do you understand? And these people were in a total state of hopelessness because you cannot tell when you are going back to your home. You cannot going to tell when you are going to feed yourself, as in go and take care of yourself as you were doing. So it was a state of despair. Do you understand? And so anything could kill them. That's just it. So their health situation was also a target. They targeted education. They targeted the health sector because if we escape the bullet, that is, I believe that this was their, maybe was there was their belief, this was their belief. You escape the bullet, you escape the bombing, you escape the kidnapping. Certainly you will not escape if sickness comes. If disease comes, you are going to die for sure. Why? Because they have destroyed medical facilities in that region. So what do you expect? The impact was so overwhelming. The international organizations that were helping, the NGOs, the non-profit organizations, government efforts were not enough because of the number of people that needed help. Do you understand? So it was quite over. Their camps were overcrowded. Camps were overcrowded. And so you can see in an overcrowded environment, you can see things that will be happening there. So things, if it's a small disease, it can cause a lot of pains to everybody. You know, communicable diseases can fly like water. Do you understand? So these are the things. So it was a very devastating situation on the government, on the international organization that were there to help, and any other person that was concerned.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, moving forward to the impact of this, the Boko Haram activities on infrastructure, the destruction of critical infrastructure. This attack actually resulted in the destruction of critical infrastructure such as schools, bridges, hospitals, road, power station, and telecommunication network. This destruction hinders the movement of people and goods, disrupts access to essential services, and impairs economic activities in the region. This disrupted infrastructure also prevents people from accessing essential services, leading to health issues, educational setback, and challenges in meeting basic needs. We can also see that based on this, the Boko Haram activities, it was not only schools that were affected, it was not just the health sector, but even the infrastructure, development was even affected, and that actually led the region at which this activity began, and the region at which their activities covered, their violent activities covered. You could actually see issues like poverty, and also you mentioned malnutrition and the likes of them. People were not people's movement was actually hindered. People could not move freely for fear of an attack or the other. So this actually added to the infrastructural devastation and the destruction at that point, and also in that particular environment. So, Ambassador Joshua, we would love to hear from you concerning this impact on the activities on infrastructure.
Yes, Janet, many of the infrastructures were destroyed, and they made sure that the roads were not motorable. They made sure that bridges were destroyed. They made sure that schools were destroyed. They made sure that power sector, that's electricity, were cut off. They made sure that telecommunications network cables were cut off. Do you understand? Nothing was working. And even as I'm talking to you now, there are some places in those areas that they don't have electricity. There are places in those areas that you cannot make a call. Do you understand? Why? Because of the activities of Boko Haram. They cut off that region completely from the rest of the world. Do you understand? Because of the activities they were. There were no that is movement, farm produce cannot move. You cannot take anything. You cannot drive to anywhere. They cut off all the key roads, the key bridges that connected different places. They make sure that they cut off so that you cannot move. Do you understand? So they were actually out for massive destruction, massive destruction. They cause what they cause real pain on the people, on the government, and on the society.
So moving forward, we'll be looking at the impacts of the Boko Haram activities on human lives, and we could see that this activity actually covers the fact that so many lives were lost, so many who lives that most times when things like this happened, the media houses just give a number, but we know that the numbers that are being projected in most situations is actually more than that. So the violent attack, the suicide bombings, and other acts of terrorism has actually resulted in the tragic loss of thousands of lives, especially in the northeastern part of the nation. We also have people that also suffered from injuries, from disabilities. Some people have been made handicapped due to that and those attacks, the gunshot wounds, the burns, the amputations, and other physical trauma. We also have psychological trauma. And I think for one, this is one of the aspects that we need to pay attention to. People that have suffered from psychological trauma. There were people that lost an entire family. There were people that watched their loved one being killed and being slaughtered. And those people have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and the PTSD, anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues as a result of the things they have experienced, and also the emotional stress and they have gone through as a people. And I think for one, there's a need for us to reach out to these people and then see ways to help them overcome those traumas and also to move on with life. So we also have the displacement and forced migration. Like we said earlier, the Boko Haram's activities have forced millions of people to flee their homes and search for safety and security. This displacement of population has led to overcrowded displacements, camps, inadequate living conditions, and limited access to essential service, exacerbating vulnerabilities and increasing the risk of malnutrition, disease, and other health issues among displaced individuals. And just to add to this, there are also military personnel who also lost their lives due to the activities of the Boko Haram. Those that were sent, to protect the people, unfortunately, also lost their lives. And this is actually to tell us the extent at which the activity of this Boko Haram insurgent group greatly impacted us as a nation, and how devastating it was. So the question now is, considering all these impacts that we have mentioned and those that we have not mentioned, can we say that the cost of peace is cheaper than the cost of war? So over to you, Ambassador Joshua.
Yes, Janet, all of the things that we discuss here, at the end of it all, is the humans that suffer it the most. Do you understand? Building may collapse, but who suffers the collapse of that building is the humans. The bridges may collapse, but who suffered the collapse of that bridge is the human. Do you understand? The network cables were destroyed. Who suffered the pains of that cables destruction is the humans. Do you understand? So at the end of it all, human lives were put at risk. And that was one of their targets. Since they don't want to accept our message and what will come with, let them suffer it. Let them suffer the pain. Let them go through hell and agony. And I can tell you that people in in those axes went through what we call hell. You understand? Real agony, real pains. And I'm not talking about people who lost their life. You have died, you have died. One thing must kill a man. Do you understand? Whether you die in the course of war or you die in normal death, you die. But the truth of the matter is that, or the unfortunate aspect of it is that they died untimely. That is another aspect. Because some of them had the opportunity to fulfill destiny, become president and governors of the state and create a change. But that dream never comes true because of the activity of the Boko Haram. Do you understand? So, and then, but those that are alive, they're the ones that experience the pains, the impact that these activities of Boko Haram inflicted on the people. The ones that are alive, they're the ones that are suffering it the most. Do you understand? So some of them may even be wishing that they would have died. Because if what is the use when you are alive and both hands are cut off, or your leg is cut off? Do you understand? As a result of bomb blast, you cannot be able to forget it. You will live with that experience till you die. So it's better you should have died once and forgotten. Do you understand? Than going through the pains you are going through. How can you say you are better off than the person that died? Do you understand? So, but the people that are alive also are suffering serious pain. And then the psychological aspect of it, as you have said, these people need to go through the process of rehabilitation, a very serious process of rehabilitation, for them to overcome the experience they went through. Because I cannot be a parent and then maybe I'm the parent of Leah that was kidnapped. How would I be feeling now? What about those ones that died? What about those ones that kidnapped and didn't return up to date? What is the experience? How are those parents feeling? They cannot recover. What about their siblings? Do you understand? And what are they thinking about the society? What are they thinking about other people that are living in the community? It's not going to be funny. Okay, that experience has created a lot of distrust among the community people. Do you understand? They cannot live to trust one another in that community anymore. They cannot live to see that community, for them, they have concluded that the community have owned them a negative package than what life has given to them. Do you understand? As a result of the activities of this group. So you see, when you look at all of these impacts, on education, on health, on human lives, on infrastructure. If we want to quantify these activities, these impacts monetarily, how much do you think it will cost? Or how much do you think the cost of this destruction? How much do you think is the cost of this destruction? The money they use to purchase the arms to come and fight, the money the government put in place to procure arms to fight them, the destruction of school facilities, the lives that were lost. When you put all of these things together, now let me ask you, when you compare all of this together, can we now say that the cost of peace is higher than the cost of war? See, we have refused to put in place measures to prevent conflict. We refuse to put in early warning system. Do you understand? Assuming we put in early warning system, that would have signaled the people that were romancing with them that this thing that you are doing is a danger, so that they will withdraw and then find a way of discouraging the progress of that group. But we did not put in early warning system measures, and that's one of the conflict prevention measures that must be in place. It was not there. Do you understand? We refuse to invest in activities that promote peace, dialogue, community peace building. We refuse to do any of that. We refuse to even support, like as we are here now. Nobody is saying come and take money for research, go and conduct research as an institution. Come, let me support your activities. Go and conduct research here and let's know what is happening so that we can put in preventive measures in place to make sure that something may not reoccur or something may not happen here. Do you understand? My president always says that wherever there is peace, conflict always finds its ways there. And wherever there is conflict, peace also works its ways there. They are twins, they go together. So if a community is in peace today, does not mean that conflict will not come. One day conflict will come and destroy it. I'm telling you, I school in Maiduguri. Maiduguri, as at that time, was very peaceful, very, boastful. Do you understand? Vibrating. It was a city that was so, I can tell you, people used to go and buy fish and bush meat in Maiduguri. Do you understand? People used to go to Bama. People used to go to Monkono and other local government to go and buy bush meat, pythons, and all of that to go and say and make money. People were making a living from the activities of what was happening, productive activities that were happening in Maiduguri or in Borno State. But when this conflict arrived, all of that cut off. Some people even died because their source of livelihood has been destroyed. Do you understand? They could no longer travel to Maiduguri to go and buy fish or bush meat. So that was the end of their business. Do you understand? And they have to forget about life and die. Do you understand? So a lot of people became hopeless because of the activities of this group, simply because we refused to invest in peace. Do you understand? We refuse to invest in peace. How much will it cost us to say, take this money, go and conduct a research? Or take this money, go and educate the community on how to live in peace? Do you understand? Or teach the people how to live in peace? Do you understand? How much will it cost? We are budgeting over 1 trillion naira for the military sector. For what? To go and buy arms. For what? To come and kill who? Come and kill the citizen of the country? Do you understand? But simply because we refuse to invest in developing our people, in putting in programs that will encourage young people to be productive and engaged. If those guys that were recruited into this group were engaged and productive and they were educated, do you understand? Do you think they would have been in this group? We refuse to put in mechanism that will reduce their, in fact, we even encourage poverty. And if we encourage poverty and create poverty, what do you expect? Anything people can go into. Some of them were recruited in that group simply because they needed money. Some of them, you can imagine, they said they will give you money. Carry this bomb, go and blow yourself somewhere. So the money they gave you is for what? Money that you cannot be alive and enjoy it because no education, no orientation. Do you understand? Some of them poverty. So even if I'm alive, say poverty will kill me. So what is the point? So let me take this money. Maybe I'll give my family and then go and die once and for all. Do you understand? So what's the meaning of that? So we refuse to invest. Janet, I can tell you that it doesn't matter the amount of money government is putting in that place. It can never be the same in the next 60 years to come. Do you understand? If it's in a place where development is always fast and people put the money where money is meant for, then we can say that, okay, in the next 20 to 30 years, we should be able to recover the impact of Boko Haram activities in that region. But I'm telling you that it will cost Nigeria more than even 100 years to recover what Boko Haram has come. But let me tell you, there's no amount of recovery that will be compared to what was destroyed. Do you understand? So, but assuming we put in effort to prevent this thing, mitigate the impact or the cause of this conflict, then the root cause of this conflict, assuming we put in measures to forestall the impact, the root cause of this, insurgents, then I'm telling you that we wouldn't have been crying the way we have. Even the Northeast Development Commission they have established, what could it do? We have the Niger Delta Development Commission. What have they achieved so far? Do you understand? They have just been trying, yes, to some extent, they have tried to put in one or two measures there, but we have been hearing of the conflict that used to go in that commission. Over money being lost, over money being misappropriated, this one, this one. Do you understand? So these are the issues I'm talking about here. If it's where money is going for what is being budgeted for, then surely we can say that yes, in the next few years we can be able to recover from what has happened, but it will take years for us to rebuild. I'm telling you that I see where conflicts happen in my community. Some of them retired and build their houses, conflict destroyed, no source of income again. Where would they build the house again? Nothing. Some of them were sending children to school. Children have to recall from school. Why? Because no money to pay school fees again. Do you understand? All of these things. Economic life, some of them were farmers using the farm produce to say get money, pay their children's school fees. For years, they have not been to farm, they're not producing. So now they're thinking of what to eat, not to pay school fees. So you can see the long-term consequence and impact on the people has not even started. Do you understand? Do you understand? So these are the issues. So we are going to see a spirit, and that is why we still need to invest in peace. And I'm telling you for sure that the cost of peace is cheaper than the cost of war. It doesn't matter how much money the government is pumping there now. What the destruction Boko Haram have done in the Nigerian economy and the state and the people and the society is quite overwhelming and can never be recovered. And if we must recover, it will take us over 50, 60 years to recover. And this is years that we will commit ourselves to carry out serious development and education of the people before we can achieve that result. Otherwise, we can never recover from it. And apart from that, the kind of distrust that will be in the community can never be recovered. I can tell you that when you were in Meduguri, you cannot, Muslims, Christians live peacefully. I don't understand. They live, it was a very smooth environment, a smooth place. It was very peaceful. Do you understand? So we went there, we were enjoying ourselves. You can go anywhere in the night. Sometimes we went to town, we come back, we used to call custom barracks. Do you understand? We used to custom barracks or something like that nature. We used to go there and come back late in the night. Do you understand? There was no issue. But suddenly, everywhere destroyed. That is why, Janet, I'm saying that we have to invest in peace and the things that can mitigate the cost of war. Otherwise, the price for war is higher than the price for peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua. We've actually critically analyzed the activities of the Boko Haram and also the fact that the cost for peace is cheaper than the cost of war. And you've actually, gone further to talk about investing in peace. Before we actually conclude on today's episode, we would love to know what are the practical ways that we can invest in peace as a people to ensure that when conflict come, conflict is actually inevitable. But when it comes, manage or in situations of war, the early prevention measures to ensure that this level of devastation does not actually repeat itself. So, what are the practical ways that we can invest in peace as a people?
All right, Janet, thank you very much. First and foremost, we have to invest in education. Peace education, or education in general. Do you understand? We need to invest in it. All right? We need to invest in education. And one way we can invest in education also to introduce the peace studies in our in our primary and secondary school. We shouldn't just be studying social studies. Yes, we should have social studies which can help to understand the way of life, but we need to introduce a subject called peace studies. Do you understand? We need it in our primary and secondary schools and even in our universities. We should not just be doing JSTs only. Just is that we have to do use of English and then library skills. No, no, it's not only that one. We should also introduce peace studies as one of the general studies course, or what they call it, JST. Do you understand? They should introduce that one, peace studies as well, so that when even you are doing medical, you are doing, because there's no sector that is exempted of conflict. Do you understand? So whether you are doing medicine, you are doing science, pure science, or social science, or you are doing art or whatever, you will take a JST that has to do with peace studies. Okay, you have to go through peace studies, understand even your department how to interact with young people, how to interact with among yourself as students. Do you understand? How to build peace, or and then dialogue when you have challenges to solve your problem, rather than taking to harm, rather than taking to fight, rather than abusive language, rather than all of those things. So we need to train people on how to show empathy where necessary and understanding among themselves. So it's very important. So education, and so one of the aspects that we can educate our people is by introducing things that young children can learn while they are still small. While they grow up, they understand the value. And then another aspect is that the National Orientation Agency should also rise to the occasion to do its work very well. We have to promote the value that the society is looking on to build to hold the fabrics of this society together. Because when the fabrics that hold the society together are destroyed, what do you expect? Do you understand? Those guys, what they brought was just to destroy a fabric that was holding the people of that place together. They introduced Western, they say Western education is forbidden. Why? Western education that we have been, our children have been, going to school and getting educated and then becoming something meaningful in life, will come to say is forbidden. For how? How? Do you understand? So all of these things, assuming we promoted the value, then we will understand what I'm talking about here. So the national orientation, duty of national orientation is to orient the people about the values of the nation. Do you understand? Unity, peace, progress. Do you understand? If you look at the coat of arms of this country, what do you see? It's unity, peace, and progress. These are the values we have. So we must, bring programs that we inject these values into it, and then people can learn and then be productive and be useful to the society. And you understand? Then community awareness, peace programs, community awareness. Do you understand? We were in Southern Kaduna the other time to engage with community people. Do you understand? To discuss peace issues. Do you understand? And I believe that training that we did in that Southern Kaduna, they will not forget it. They will not forget it. Do you understand? That's what it means. So we invest, and it's just an individual institution decided to call us, come and do it. They spend their own money. So it means that individual can also invest in community peace promotion. The government can invest. It's everybody's business. Do you understand? So national orientation should promote their values. We should also carry out community awareness. We also carry out research on some of these issues that we're talking about. If we see a issue coming out, carry out research and proper solution. And if solutions are proper, let people that are concerned, if the government, if the individuals, let them take action to make sure that whatever solution that is being proposed is being implemented, so that it will not result into something else. Do you understand? So we should not be relaxing sometimes you carry out your research, you submit a document to a government, you send a proposal on a particular thing, they say no. Do you understand? The people that are in that place don't care. It's none of their business. No, it shouldn't be like that. We should be serious and proactive when such kind of reports are given to us to do something. Let's do it to make sure that we mitigate the causes of this conflict, and then we'll be moving forward. So people should be educated. Peace building is a continuous process. It's not just only when a war come to an end. You know, it should be a continuous process before, during, and after the war. Peace building process, peace building activities must be on. Do you understand? At the community level, engage, conduct programs. You can even train people. One of the things that can also reduce conflicts is when people are empowered and people are engaged. So you organize skills acquisition training program. You empower people, the community, the young people. Once they are empowered and they are engaged and they are productive with their hands, they will not have time to go and look for war. They will not have time to go and fight. If you ask me not to go and fight, I will tell you I don't have time. Do you understand? Because I'm educated, too, I have something to do with my hands. So why should I go and fight? If you ask me even to go and protest on the street, it will hard me to go and do it. Do you understand? Why? Because I have something to do with my hand. I don't have time to go and waste. Do you understand? I'm not saying that those that go and protest, they are not educated or they are not school or they don't have anything to do with their hands. But you know, majority of them that sometimes cause violence even during protests are those that are not educated. Do you understand? So you go out to protest genuinely for a thing that is a concern, but there are those that don't care whether destruction happens or it doesn't happen. It's none of their business. Then they start destroying things, causing violence. Do you understand? And then the whole of the essence of the protest becomes a waste. Do you understand? So these are the things that we're talking about here. So if young people are empowered with their hands and they are engaged with their hands, they will not have time to go and carry all of those activities. It doesn't matter the kind of job you are doing. If you are a cab man or a bike man, but you are educated, nobody will come and deceive you. Do you understand? So education is very important. Very, very important. And it doesn't matter. Education can be Western education, that's formal education, non-formal education, informal education, all of them are education. Nowadays, there are opportunities to learn things online and all of that and be productive with your hands. You understand? So, what I'm trying to say is that the practical ways we can be able to mitigate some of these kind of things from happening is that we should put in early system, early warning mechanism to detect when there is something that is a danger to our peace. We'll be able to identify it and deal with it. And when that is being identified and solutions are being proposed, those that are concerned should take action. We should not relax. Okay, I'm saying that National Orientation Agency also rise to the occasion to promote and orient the people on the values of the nation. And they can partner. They can partner with us. We can help. They can partner with other institutions. They can help. We have civil society organizations, all right? So many of them cut across Nigeria. You can engage, you can call them. They have budget. Government used to give them budget. Let them use this budget and give to some of these institutions and tell them, we want you to help us to do an activity in this place. Do you understand? And then give them a particular amount of money. They'll go and do it. Even if we don't have the capacity to go and do it, they will go and do it. Submit the report to you. You submit the report to government. This is what you have achieved. Do you understand? And then make more budget. That will help you to know some of the challenges that are there, and then some of the areas that you can still demand more money from the government to be able to accomplish. Do you understand? So these things are very simple things to do, but the problem is that people don't care. So far as they are not affected, it's none of their business. Do you understand? Until when maybe a family member or them themselves have been kidnapped before they come to understand that, okay, this thing is a serious matter. You understand? So we need to do something. And like the private institution like us, that's what we are doing. Peace Clinic. The Peace Clinic, this program now is to give awareness to people that care to listen. But some of them will come and listen and then bypass. They don't want to spend time listening to what we're talking here. They just come and then bypass. Do you understand? You have to stay here and listen to what we are saying. And then we are also organizing free training on peace education. People have been joining. I get the point out. These are the ways we can educate people, let them know their rights, They know what is good and what is wrong, so that they face what is good. And then people teaching people to understand with one another, value people, respect people's culture. Do you understand? And respect people different ways of life. In that way, we are going forward. So this is what we need, and these are the practical ways and steps we can take to make sure that we have peace in our nation, not the situation the way it is now. And this is the reason why this organization also came out, to make sure that the message of peace is reached to everybody, and people are living to promote peace and also to respect one another. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua. We've actually heard a lot and spoken a lot on the submission that the cost of peace is far cheaper than the cost of war, critically analyzing the activities of the Boko Haram insurgent group. So thank you for, for joining us and also for helping us understand this topic better. And just to add, a little to what you have said concerning ways in which we can invest in peace. As we have seen, the Boko Haram insurgency actually began with an ideology, and there are several of these kinds of ideologies that are coming up that we're not even aware of. And I think another way we can actually help to invest in peace is to create contrary ideologies that can contradict this extremist ideology, that people who have the mindset and the ideology that violence is not the option. At every point, peace should reign, and even in our personal activities and interaction with people, what should be at the back of our mind is that in any situation, peace should be the focus. So you spoke about education, and I think our young people, because most of the Boko Haram's activities were targeted at young people, and we could see situations whereby the young children were being recruited to actually join in the insurgency. So it's actually important that people are meant to understand and have the ideology that peace is important, and at every point, the cost of peace is actually far cheaper than the cost of war. So once again, thank you, Ambassador Joshua, for joining us on today's episode. And we want to appreciate all our viewers for joining us. This clinic is brought to you by the Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management. So just to remind us, the Institute of Global Peace is actually organizing a free online certification course in peace education, and the training is a 5 days training, and it will continue today, being Friday, the 19th of July, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. GMT plus 1. So you can do well to join us either on Facebook or on YouTube at Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management, so you can partake in this free training. So to know more about the Institute, you can do well to visit us on www.igpcm.com.ng, or you email us at igpcminfo@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us. You can place a call on +234 703 345 8730, or +234 4156 9400. Do not to also follow us on all our social media handles. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn as Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management. You can also find us on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Twitter as IGPCM. So once again, we appreciate you for joining us on today's episode of the Peace Clinic, and we hope to see you tomorrow for another section of the Peace Clinic. So thank you for joining us once again, and see you tomorrow. Thank you, Ambassador Joshua, for being available for today's episode.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure. Thank you.